Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to discuss recently the events that occurred at 451 Franklin Avenue yesterday morning at about 1:27 a.m. Hartford Police Patrol officers were in the area of 451 Franklin Avenue, the Majestic Lounge, in the area of Franklin Avenue and Brown Street on a directed patrol. Police officers heard gunfire coming within the establishment. The officers left their posts, immediately went into the building, and located 5 gunshot victims. They rendered medical aid as best as they could until the arrival of medical assistance. 4 of the victims were transported to the hospital. 1 of them was pronounced deceased within an hour. 1 of the victims was transported by private vehicle on his way to the hospital. The vehicle did crash in the area of Franklin Avenue and Maple Avenue. Patrol officers responded, gave medical aid, at which point that victim was transported to the hospital. It was determined that he too was shot at the location of 451 Franklin Avenue, the Majestic Lounge. At the time of incident, at 1:27 a.m., the bar had his lights on. It was ready to egress at the end of the night. The patrol officers got there around 1 o'clock in the morning, about 27 minutes prior to this incident occurring. And we do not believe that the individuals that were responsible for this shooting, individuals responsible for the shooting, knew that the police officers were posted outside of that establishment at the time of the shooting. The victim, the homicide victim in this particular case, has been identified as Marquis Treadwell. Again, Marquis Treadwell. He is a 28-year-old male, and he is a Hartford resident. The other victims, we have 2 females, a 30-year-old female, as well as a 19-year-old female, a 34-year-old male, and a 30-year-old male. The Hartford Police Major Crimes Division, our Crime Scene Division, as well as our Capital City Command Center and Violent Crimes Unit are working together in regards to this case, and we're hoping to provide more information in regards to updates in the next few days.
Can you spell Marquis Treadwell?
Treadwell, Treadwell, and Marquis, common spelling, Marquis.
You ascertain is 1 or 2 weapons fired, discharged inside the club yet? Or?
So the investigation is obviously ongoing and active right now. We do have evidence of at least 1 gun being fired within the confines of the establishment. There was probably about 50 to 60 people in the establishment when the incident occurred.
Were the people shot the intended target?
It appears as though at least 2 of the people were intended target from information that we're gathering, as well as interviews that were being conducted at this time. 2 of them were definitely targets. There was a altercation, a verbal altercation within the establishment just prior to the shooting, at which point it unfortunately did lead to the gunshots being fired.
Mayor Ronan said in the statement that these were illegal guns. Do you know that to be true?
They were handguns, handgun or handguns. I think what he meant by illegal was it's unlawful to possess a firearm at an establishment that, obviously their business is to sell alcohol. So I believe that was, what he was trying to mention in that case.
Okay, they weren't illegally obtained.
We don't have that information right now, obviously. No.
Do you have a person of interest or people?
We're looking at several people, and we're talking to a lot of people. So we're hopeful, and we're anticipating getting more updates in the next couple of days.
The victims in the hospital are able to communicate with you to aid in this investigation?
Obviously, their health and well-being is crucial and is paramount to us, so we're going to wait until they're arrested until we can conduct a further investigation to the matter and speak to them.
Can you talk about Hartford Police's connection relationship with this nightclub? Are you there a lot? Do you have to respond a lot in the past?
There's been some challenges at that particular location. A couple incidents in October of note. We did have a stabbing incident on the 19th of October, and we did have a shots fired on the same day, and as outside of the establishment, as well as a shooting that occurred on October 4th outside of the establishment.
What's the security like at the club? Do they have their own security? What are the security measures?
It is their own security, so a business is responsible for their own security. In this particular case, the zone lieutenant has met with the owner on several occasions and advised him that the city will actually enforce a city ordinance called 2917, which will essentially require him to have police personnel in and outside of his establishment. That conversation is actually occurring right now, and we don't believe he's going to be opening for business until he abides by that new city ordinance that we're going to impose upon him.
Any idea if the victims knew one another?
It was, at this point in the investigation, we're still trying to talk to some people, obtain some more crucial video. Anyone that has any video, perhaps on a cell phone or anything in the area before or after, is encouraged to call us our tip line at 722 TIPS, which is 722-8477. Information we have right now is very clear that these individuals were known to each other. They weren't strangers. They were known to each other when the gunfire erupted.
The victims and the suspects.
The victim and the suspect.
And the incidents before that you've had there, are they gang-related?
There's nothing to suggest any of that.
Anything that suggests with this incident?
We're still looking into that.
Is there any connection with the past incidents to this one?
No, not at all. No.
Are you able to say which victim was in the car that crashed and led to the hospital?
He was a 30-year-old male.
The officers that'll be at the bar, are these on duty, off duty, plain clothes, uniformed?
They were uniformed personnel.
Are they be on duty or will the bar be required to hire off duty?
Well, at the time of this particular incident, they were dispatched there by the zone lieutenant and the captain in charge of the patrol division because we've had challenges there in the past. So they were advised to conduct a directed patrol, which they have been doing for the past probably 2-3 months, and there hasn't been any issues. As I said earlier, these individuals were in the club prior to the police officers responding.
So now following this ordinance is an extra step that the club owner is going to have to take. Is the Hartford Police Department still going to keep those officers patrolling out at 1 in the morning there?
So there might be additional officers out there, but it's going to be incumbent upon the bar owner, if he's going to open, is to hire uniformed patrol contingent out there, uniformed patrol officers. So likely it's going to be 4, a supervisor and 3 officers that will be required to be there, as well as any other resources from the patrol division that we'll bring along.
What's the update on the victims?
One has been, they're all stable, aside, obviously, unfortunately, from our homicide victim. 3 are stabilized, 1 has been released.
Is the homicide victim familiar to you guys?
It's been several years.
Would these officers be there every night or just particularly, Friday, Saturday?
That's something that the zone lieutenant is going to have to discuss with the liquor commission and the owner.
So right now we're looking at one shooter?
Right now, we're looking at several different avenues in regards to that. We haven't ruled anything out yet.
Including these that got shot being charged in this incident?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
Any chance anybody that was shot be having any charge?
It's far too early to tell right now.
What's the steps right now for your officers? What are they up to? What can you tell us at this point?
We have a very good track record of maintaining a lot of vigilance and command presence at all of our nightclubs at closing times, whether it's downtown area, up in the north end, or the south end, geographically all over the city. So we're going to maintain that, be a little more vigilant. We don't want to have that police presence literally inside the clubs or right out the doors or whatnot. So we try to maintain in the area, and that command presence seems to work tremendously. And unfortunately, there's times such as this that a tragic incident occurs.
Your message to who may be responsible right now?
So the Major Crimes Division upstairs is working diligently. A lot of them haven't left since this occurred. We do have quite a bit of information coming in, as well as video evidence here. We're looking for you to just come to the Hartford Police Department, turn yourself in. We will be providing information probably in the next couple of days in regards to the succession of this case and where we're going with it.
How significant was it that those officers happened to be there when it happened to immediately be on the scene and start helping?
Tremendous. One of the individuals was shot, I believe, up to 9 times. They rendered medical aid to her. They tried to stop the bleeding as best as they could. They provided oxygen, and they were there with her and the other individuals as well until the arrival of ambulances. So it was definitely crucial for them to be there. The first order of business for a police officer is preservation of life. So they went in there and made the scene safe as best as they could, and they rendered medical aid as best as they could.
9 times at close range. Was she one of the 2 intended targets?
It appears as though at this time.
And was she the 30-year-old or the 19-year-old?
She's a 30-year-old.
So it's safe to say if your officers hadn't been outside, there could have been a much greater loss of life here.
Likely, absolutely likely. The officers got in there pretty quickly. There's 2 doors at this particular location, one that faces north and one that faces east. There wasn't too much activity out of the east door, but most of it was compartmentalized specific to the north door. So there was quite a bit of a bottleneck after the gunshots rang out, so the officers were trying to make their way in as people were trying to make their way out, so you could imagine how much chaos was occurring. So, yeah, there was a lot going on. So, when the police officers were there, I'm sure everybody recognized the fact that the officers were there. And, hopefully that made the suspect or suspects leave out a side door or back door, and they didn't stay within the confines of the establishment.
Do you have a lot of people who live in the neighborhood willingly coming forward with any information that they've seen?
The people that were in the club were the only people that would have known what happened in the club. the people that were outside the club were the police officers. So we're going to rely on their reports on what they saw. Thank you, everybody.